हेलो फ्रेंड्स, स्वागत है आपका हमारे यूट्यूब चैनल राज कोचिंग सेंटर में। आज मैं आप लोगों के लिए इंडियन रेलवे सिग्नलिंग का बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट टॉपिक सिग्नलिंग जनरल लेकर आया हूं, जो कि आगे आने वाली सभी एलडीसी एग्जाम्स के लिए बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण है। तो चलिए दोस्तों, शुरू करते हैं। पीरियोडिसिटी ऑफ फूड प्लेट इंस्पेक्शन फॉर जेई और एसएससी सेक्शन once in a month. Option A is right answer. Next question number 2 is periodicity of food plate inspection for in charge SSC once in 3 months. Next, periodicity of food plate inspection for AST or DST once in a year. Next question number 5 is periodicity of food plate inspection for maintainer once in a fortnight. Next, allowed gauge tolerance tightness on straight line including curves of 350 meters and more radius 1676 minus 5 mm. Next, allowed gauge tolerance slackness on straight line including curves of 350 meters and more radius 1676 plus 3 mm. Next, allowed gauge tolerance on curves less than 350 meter radius 1676 plus 10 mm. Next, maximum permissible speed on A route 130 to 160 kmph. Next, maximum permissible speed on B route 100 to 130 kmph. Next, maximum permitted gradient in station yard 1 in 400. Next, recommended gradient in station yard 1 in 1200. Next, maximum super elevation permitted in broad gauge 165 mm. Next, maximum super elevation permitted in main gauge 100 mm. Next, SWR must be read in conjunction with GNSR and BWM block working manual. Next, SWR revision should be done 1 year and after 3 correction. Next, SWR revision should be done 2 years and after 3 corrections. Next, SWR revision should be done 3 years and 3 corrections. Next, SWR revision should be done 4 years and after 3 corrections. Next, SWR revision should be done 5 years and after 3 corrections. Next, SWR revision should be done 6 months and after 3 corrections. Next, signaling interlocking plan SIP prepared on the basis of engineering plan. Next, the clearance between bottom of the rail and top of leading stretcher bar under the stock rail is 1.5 to 3 mm. Next, minimum clearance between bottom of the rail and top of leading stretcher bar under the switch rail 1.5 mm. Next, maximum clearance between bottom of the rail and top of the leading stretcher bar under the switch rail 3 mm. Next, allowed clearance between bottom of the rail and top of leading stretcher bar under the switch rail 2 mm. Next, allowed clearance between bottom of the rail and top of the leading stretcher bar under the switch rail 2.5 mm. Next, allowed clearance between bottom of the rail and top of leading stretcher bar under the switch rail 1.75 mm. Next, existing minimum distance between center to center of track in broad gauge 4 to 65 mm. Next, for new works, minimum distance between center to center of track in broad gauge 5300 mm. Next, minimum clearance of check rail at level crossing 51 mm. Next, maximum clearance of check rail at level crossing 58 mm. Next, question number next, clearance of check rail at level crossing should be in between 51 to 58 mm. Next, minimum clearance of check rail at curves 44 mm. Next, minimum depth of space for wheel flange from rail level 38 mm. Next, currency of green notice for NI 3 months. Next, existing clear standing length CSL or CSR 686 meters. Next, clear standing length for new layout 715 meters. Next, CCRS headquarter is at Lucknow. Next, currency of CRS sanction is 12 months. Next, currency of CRS sanction is 1 year. Next, validity of competency certificate issued by zonal training school 48 months or 4 years. Validity of competency certificate issued by zonal training school 4 years. Next, period of overhauling for interlocking frames once in 3 years. Next, period of overhauling for interlocking frames once in 36 months. Next, resumption of normal working of lever frames with more than 20 working levers AST or DST. Next, maximum permitted earth resistance less than 10 ohms. Next, token census to be carried out once in 6 months. Period of overhauling for SG block instrument once in 7 years. Next, period of overhauling for SL single line token block instrument once in 10 years. Next, signal sighting committee SNT, LI, SSE SNT, LI and TI. Next, opening of tongue rail in broad gauge 113 to 115 mm. Existing minimum clearance between toe of open switch and stock rail 95 mm. Next, signaling plan is approved by CST and CSE, CST or CSE. Period of overhauling of lock bar clips once in 1 year. Next, approach locking, back locking, indication locking should be tested once in 3 years. Next, new minimum clearance between toe of open switch and stock rail 115 mm. Next, point testing to be carried out by JE or SSC once in 1 month. Point testing to be carried out by in charge SSC once in 3 months. Next, point testing to be carried out by AST once in 12 months. Next, signal posts lever frames to be painted once in 3 years. Next, overhauling once in 7 years to be done SGE block instrument. Next, overhauling once in 10 years to be done single line token block instrument. Overhauling once in 10 years to be done single line token block instrument. Next, signal post on passenger platform should be provided from center of line of nearest track at a minimum 4720 mm. Next, signal post on goods platform should be provided from center of line of nearest track at a minimum 4110 mm. Next, in over dimensional consignment, ODC working gross clearance means physical clearance at rest. Next, in over dimensional consignment, ODC working net clearance means physical clearance on run. Next, maximum number of persons allowed to travel on a push trolley 10. Next, maximum number of persons allowed to travel on a motor trolley with 4 HP motor 7. Next, maximum number of persons allowed to travel on a motor trolley with 6 HP motor 10. Next, maximum 7 persons are allowed to travel on a push trolley. Motor trolley with 4 HP मोटर से 7% अलाउड है और 6 HP रहेगा तो 10% अलाउड है. मिनिमम नंबर ऑफ पर्सन टू ट्रेवल ऑन अ मोटर ट्रॉली मिनिमम जो है 2 हो सकता है. नेक्स्ट, ट्रैवल ट्रॉली या मोटर ट्रॉली कॉम्पिटेंसी सर्टिफिकेट इज वैलिड फॉर 1 year. नेक्स्ट, प्रोटेक्शन ऑफ लॉरी इन सिंगल लाइन when stopped in mid section for unloading by placing one banner flag at 600 meters on both sides and 3 detonators at 1200 meters from the place of obstruction. Next, revised caudal life of electrical or mechanical signaling system assets on A route 25 years. Next, revised caudal life of electrical or mechanical signaling system assets on B routes depending upon location and condition 25 to 28 years. Next, revised caudal life of electrical or mechanical signaling system assets on D routes depending upon location and condition 25 to 28 years. Revised caudal life of electrical or mechanical signaling system assets on D special routes depending upon location and condition 25 to 28 years. Next, revised caudal life of electrical or mechanical signaling system assets on E routes 30 years. Next, revised caudal life of electrical or mechanical signaling system assets on E special routes 30 years. Next, revised caudal life of assets electronic signaling system like SSI, Excel counter, AWS, AFTC, IPS, etc. 15 years or based on obsolescence. Next, revised caudal life of telecommunication assets microwave equipments 12 to 15 years. Revised caudal life of telecommunication assets exchange and accessories including telephone equipment 12 to 15 years. Next, revised caudal life of telecommunication assets underground cables quad 20 years. Next, revised caudal life of telecommunication assets underground cables OFC 20 years. Revised caudal life of telecommunication assets overhead alignment 25 years. Next, revised caudal life of telecommunication assets all other electronic or wireless items including OFC equipment 12 to 15 years. Next, revised caudal life of telecommunication assets cell phones 5 to 8 years. Next, revised caudal life of telecommunication assets fax 10 years. Revised caudal life of telecommunication assets walkie-talkie sets VHF 5 to 8 years. Revised caudal life of telecommunication assets data communication equipment routers modems PCs etc. 5 to 8 years. Next, revised caudal life of signaling equipments cranks and compensators on A routes 2 years. Next, revised caudal life of signaling equipments cranks and compensator on B routes 2 years. Revised caudal life of signaling equipments cranks and compensators on C sub routes 1 years. Next, revised total life of signaling equipments, cranks and compensators on D and D special routes, 4 years. Next, revised total life of signaling equipments, cranks and compensators on E and E special routes, 4 years. Next, revised total life of signaling equipments, cranks and compensators in terms of number of operations, 50,000. Next, revised total life of signaling equipments, lock bars, clips in terms of number of operations, 1 lakh operations. Next, revised total life of signaling equipments, lock bars on A routes, 3 years. Next, revised total life of signaling equipments, lock bars on B routes, 3 years. Revised total life of signaling equipments, lock bars on C subroute, 3 years. Next, revised total life of signaling equipments, lock bars on D and D special routes, 5 years. Next, revised total life of signaling equipments, lock bars on E and E special routes, 7 years. Next, revised total life of signaling equipments, FPL with bolt detection in terms of number of operations, 3 lakh operations. Next, revised total life of signaling equipments, FPL with bolt detection on A routes, 8 years. Next, revised total life of signaling equipments, FPL with bolt detection on B routes, 8 years. Next, revised total life of signaling equipments, FPL with bolt detection on C or sub routes, 8 years. Next, revised total life of signaling equipment, lock bars on D and D special routes, 15 years. Next, revised total life of signaling equipment, FPL with bolt detection on E and E special routes, 15 years. Revised total life of signaling equipment, mechanical detector on B routes, 15 years. Next, revised total life of signaling equipment's mechanical detector on D and D special routes, 20 years. Revised total life of signaling equipment's mechanical detector on E and E special routes, 25 years. Next, revised total life of signaling equipment's mechanical detector in terms of number of operations, 5 lakh. Next, revised total life of signaling equipment's circuit breakers in terms of number of operations, 5 lakh operations. Next, revised total life of signaling equipment, circuit breakers on A routes, 15 years. Revised total life of signaling equipment, circuit breakers on B routes, 15 years. Next, revised total life of signaling equipment, circuit breakers on C or sub routes, 15 years. Next, revised total life of signaling equipments, circuit breakers on D and D routes, D special routes, 15 years. 25 years. Revised total life of signaling equipment, circuit breakers on E and E special routes, 30 years. Next, revised total life of signaling equipment, lever locks on A routes, 7 years. Next, revised total life of signaling equipment, lever locks on B routes, 7 years. Revised total life of signaling equipment, lever locks on C or sub routes, 7 years. Revised total life of signaling equipment, lever locks on D and D special routes, 12 years. Next, revised total life of signaling equipment, lever locks on E and E special routes, 15 years. Revised total life of signaling equipment, EKT on A routes, 10 years. Revised total life of signaling equipment, EKT on B routes, 10 years. Revised total life of signaling equipment, EKT on C or sub routes, 10 years. Next, revised total life of signaling equipment, EKT on D and D special routes, 12 years. No, 15 years. Next, revised total life of signaling equipments, EKT on E and E special routes, 15 years. Revised total life of signaling equipment SM slide frame, 30 years. Revised total life of signaling equipment EPD and reverser on A route, 15 years. Revised total life of signaling equipment EPD and reverser on B routes, 15 years. Revised total life of signaling equipment EPD and reverser on C or sub routes, 15 years. Revised total life of signaling equipment EPD and reverser on D and D special routes, 20 years. Revised total life of signaling equipments EPD and reverser on E and E special routes, 20 years. Revised total life of signaling equipment signal machines on E and E special routes, 20 years. Revised total life of signaling equipment signal machines on D and D special routes, 20 years. Revised total life of signaling equipment signal machines on B routes, 10 years. Revised total life of signaling equipments signal machines in terms of number of operations, 1,50,000 operations. Revised total life of signaling equipment point machine in terms of number of operations, 3 lakh ऑपरेशन पॉइंट मशीन का. रिवाइज टोटल लाइफ ऑफ सिग्नलिंग इक्विपमेंट्स पॉइंट मशीन ऑन ए रूट, 12 years. Revised total life of signaling equipment point machine on B routes, 12 years. Revised total life of signaling equipment point machine on C or sub routes, 7 years. Revised total life of signaling equipment point machine on D or D and D special routes, 15 years. Revised total life of signaling equipment point machine on E and E special routes, 15 years. Revised total life of signaling equipment signal wire transmission on all routes, 3 years. Revised total life of signaling equipment plug-in and self-type relays on A routes, 25 years. Revised total life of signaling equipment plug-in and self-type relays on B routes, 28 years. Revised total life of signaling equipments plug-in and self-type relays on C or sub-routes, 25 years. Revised total life of signaling equipment plug-in and self-type relays on D and D special routes, 28 years. Revised total life of signaling equipment plug-in and self-type relays on E and E special routes, 30 years. Revised total life of signaling equipment plug-in and self-type relays in terms of number of operations, 10 lakh operations. Revised total life of signaling equipment track fit battery charger on all routes, 10 years. Revised total life of signaling equipment battery charger on all routes, 10 years. Revised total life of signaling equipment DG set on all routes, 10 years. Revised total life of signaling equipments inverters on all routes, 10 years. Revised total life of signaling equipment signal transformers on all routes, 12 years. Revised total life of signaling equipment transformer on all routes, 12 years. Revised total life of signaling equipment batteries on all routes, 4 years. Revised total life of signaling block instrument on all routes, 25 years. Revised total life of signaling equipments block instrument electromechanical on all routes, 20 years. Revised total life of signaling equipment cable on all routes, 20 years. Next, revised total life of civil engineering assets rails on A and B routes, 20 years. Revised total life of civil engineering assets rails on C or sub routes, 15 years. Revised total life of civil engineering assets rail on D routes, 30 years. Revised total life of civil engineering assets rail on E routes, 30 years. Revised total life of civil engineering assets wooden sleepers on all routes, 10 years. Revised Total Life of Civil Engineering Assets Metal, Sleeper, Cast Iron and Steel on all routes 20 years. Revised Total Life of Civil Engineering Assets Fittings, Steel Trough on all routes 10 years. Revised Total Life of Civil Engineering Assets Concrete Sleepers on A and B routes 35 years. Revised Total Life of Civil Engineering Assets Concrete Sleepers on C or sub routes 35 years. Next, revised total life of civil engineering assets concrete sleepers on D routes 40 years. Revised total life of civil engineering assets concrete sleepers on E routes 40 years. Revised total life of civil engineering assets elastic rail clips on A and B routes 5 to 8 years. Next, revised total life of civil engineering assets elastic rail clips on C or sub routes 5 to 8 years. Revised total life of civil engineering assets elastic rail clips on D routes 8 to 10 years. Revised total life of civil engineering assets elastic rail clips on E routes 8 to 10 years. Revised total life of civil engineering assets rubber pads liners on A and B routes 2 to 4 years. Revised total life of civil engineering assets rubber pads liners on C routes 2 to 4 years. Revised total life of civil engineering assets rubber pad liner on D routes 4 years. Revised total life of civil engineering rubber pad liners on E routes 4 to 6 years. Revised total life of civil engineering assets switches on A and B routes 4 years. Revised total life of civil engineering assets switches on E routes 5 years. Revised total life of civil engineering assets switches on D routes 5 years. Revised total life of civil engineering assets switches on C or subroutes 2 or 3 years. Revised total life of civil engineering asset crossing on A and B routes 5 years. Revised total life of civil engineering asset crossing on C subroutes 4 to 5 years. Revised total life of civil engineering assets crossing on D routes 8 years. Revised total life of civil engineering assets crossing on E routes 8 years. Minimum distance center to center line of adjacent track is 5.3 meter. Maximum height of equipment provided between the rails of the track above the rail level is 64 mm. Point machine or electrical point detector should be provided from nearest central line of track at a minimum distance of 1.6 meters. TLJB should be provided from nearest central line of track at a minimum distance of 1905 mm. Location box should be provided from nearest center line of track at a minimum distance of 2360 mm. Signal post should be provided from nearest center of line of track at a minimum distance of 2360 mm. Red aspect of a signal should be from above the rail level at a height of 3.65 meters. Next, if foundation height is within 305 mm from above the rail level, the edge of a signal foundation from nearest center of line of track is 1905 mm. If the post is within 2360 mm from nearest line of central line of track, minimum height of signal post from above the rail level should be 3355 mm. Next, if a signal post is at a distance of 2360 mm from nearest center line of track and if its height is 4420 mm above the rail level, then the signal unit should be at a minimum distance of from nearest center line of track to 135 mm. Minimum horizontal distance from center of track to any structure for existing work from rail level to 305 mm above rail level 1675 mm. Minimum horizontal distance from center of track to any structure for existing works from 305 mm above rail level to 3355 mm above rail level 2135 mm. Minimum horizontal distance from center of track to any structure for existing works from 3355 mm above rail level to 4115 mm above rail level 2135 mm decreasing to 1980 mm. Next, minimum horizontal distance from center of track to any structure for existing works from 4115 mm to 6250 mm above rail level on main line 1600 mm. Minimum horizontal distance from center of track to any structure for existing works below the rail level up the formation level of the track on straight and curves up to radius of 875 meters 2575 mm. Next, minimum horizontal distance from center of track to any structure for existing works below the rail level up to the formation level of the track on curves with radius less than 875 meters 2725 mm. Minimum or horizontal distance from center of track to any structure for new works or alteration to existing works from rail level to 305 mm above the rail level 1905 mm. Minimum horizontal distance from center of track to any structure for new works or alteration to existing works from 305 mm above rail levels to 1065 mm 1905 mm increasing to 2360 mm. Minimum or horizontal distance from center of track to any structure for new work or alteration to existing works from 1065 mm above rail level to 3355 mm 2360 mm. Next, minimum or horizontal distance from center of track to any structure for new works or alteration to existing works from 3355 mm above rail level to 4420 mm 2360 mm decreasing to 2135 mm. Minimum horizontal distance from center of track to any structure for new works or alteration to existing works from 4420 mm above rail level to 4610 mm 2135 mm decreasing to 1980 mm. Next, minimum horizontal distance from center of track to any structure for new works or alteration to existing work from 4610 mm above rail level to 6250 mm 1600 mm. Next, minimum horizontal distance from center of track to any structure for new works or alteration to existing work below the rail level up to the formation level of the track on the straight and curves up to radius of 875 meters 2575 mm. Next, minimum horizontal distance from center of track to any structure for new works or alteration to existing works below the rail level up to the formation level of the track on curves with radius less than 875 meter 2725 mm. Turnout should not be laid on the inside of curves 1 in 8 half. In case of broad gauge, there should be no change of gradient within 30 meters of the point. In case of main gauge, there should be no change of gradient within 15 meters of the point. Beyond outermost point, permissible station gradient should extend up to 50 meters. Next, execution of signaling works requiring CRS sanction. New station temporary or permanent. Next, execution of signaling works requiring CRS sanction. Addition, extension or alteration to existing block signaling and interlocking installation. Execution of signaling works requiring CRS sanction. Change in block signaling and interlocking scheme. Next, execution of signaling works requiring CRS sanction. Interlocking of level crossing, cache siding and slip siding, etc. Execution of signaling works not requiring CRN sanction. Provision of all categories of track circuits in the station section. Next, execution of signaling works not requiring CRN sanction. Provision of telephone at already manned LC gate. Next, execution of signaling works not requiring CRS sanction. Provision of electrical or mechanical lifting barrier, including emergency interlocked arrangements at already interlocked level crossing gates. Next, execution of signaling works not requiring CRS sanction. Replacement of signaling assets without change in yard layout or signaling and interlocking scheme either in station or at mid-section level crossing gates. Execution of signaling works not requiring CRS sanction. Replacement of block instrument by any other approved type of instrument or provision of block proving axle counter or track circuiting using existing block instruments. Next, execution of signaling works not requiring CRS sanction. Interlocking of existing LC gates within an already existing interlocked station yard by existing signals in same or shifted location. Next, signaling plans IP approved by CST or CSE. Next, looking table LT approved by CST or CSE. Selection table approved by CST or CSE. Looking chart approved by DST or SST. Typical wiring diagrams such as inter-cabin slotting, auto signaling, track circuit indication circuit, etc. approved by Deputy CST or Senior DST. Detailed wiring diagram for individual stations prepared on the basis of approved typical wiring diagram approved by DST or SST. Typical circuit diagrams for various circuits such as route locking, approach locking, sectional route release, point and signal control, lamp probing circuits, relay interlocking circuits, etc. is approved by CST. Next, detailed circuit and wiring diagram based on typical diagram including those submitted by contractors and firms authorized by CST approved by Deputy CST or Senior DST. Type of block working approved by CRS. Type of block instrument approved by RDSO. Train accidents class A1 to A4, all type of collisions. Train accidents class B1 to B6, cases of fire and blasts. Train accident class C1 to C8, LC gate accidents. Next, train accident D1 to D5, all type of derailments. Train accidents class E1 to E2, collision on obstruction or passing over obstruction but safe. Yard accidents, train is not involved, class A5, LC gate accident. Sorry, all type of collisions. Next, yard accidents, train is not involved, class B7, cases of fires and blasts. Yard accidents, train is not involved, class C9, LC gate accidents. Yard accidents, class D6, all type of derailments. Indicative accidents, class F, F1 to F4, averted collision cases. Indicative accidents, class G, G1 to G4, cases of break of block rules. Indicative accidents, class H, H1 to H2, signal passing at danger, SPAD cases. Equipment failures, class J, CNW or loco failures. Equipment failures, class K, K1 to K7, engineering department failures. Equipment failures, class L, electrical department failures. Equipment failures, class M, S&T department failures comes under class M. Abnormal incidents class N, intentionally damages to rail train stations. Abnormal incidents class P, P1 to P3, human run over cases. Next, abnormal incidents class Q, Q1 to Q6, natural human death, murder, suicide, theft, fire, blast in railway area. Next, abnormal incidents class R, R1 to R5, cattle run over cases, other natural incidents. Level of inquiry, all serious accidents, CRS. Level of inquiry, other consequential train accidents except unmanned LC gate accidents, JAG Inquiry Committee. Level of inquiry, unmanned LC gate accidents, JAG Inquiry Committee. Level of inquiry, all other train accidents, Committee of Senior Scale Officer or Junior Scale Officers. Level of inquiry, all yard accidents, Committee of Senior Supervisors. Level of inquiry, all cases of indicative accidents, Committee of Junior Scale Officers. Level of inquiry, all equipment failures, Senior Supervisors of respective department. Stipulated days for completion of accident inquiry at zonal railway level D+3. Stipulated days for completion of accident inquiry at zonal railway level D+7. Stipulated days for completion of accident inquiry at zonal railway level D+10. Stipulated days for completion of accident inquiry at zonal railway level D+15. Stipulated days for completion of accident inquiry at zonal railway level D+20. Stipulated days for completion of accident inquiry at zonal railway level D+90. Maximum vertical rail wear for 60 kg rail 8 mm. Maximum vertical rail wear for 52 kg and 90 R rail 5 mm. Maximum vertical rail wear for 75 R and 60 R rail 3 mm. Maximum lateral rail wear for 60 kg rail 8 mm. Maximum lateral rail wear for 52 kg and 90 R rail 6 mm. Maximum lateral rail wear for 75 R and 60 R rail 5 mm. Maximum permissible vertical wear on wing rails or nose of crossing 10 mm. Difference of wheel diameter between wheels of same axle should be within 0.5 mm. Difference of wheel diameter between wheels of two adjacent axles of the same trolley 13 mm. Difference of wheel diameter between wheels of two adjacent axles of the same trolley for coaching should be within 5 mm. Difference of wheel diameter between wheels of different trolleys of a bogie for coaching should be within 13 mm. Difference of wheel diameter between wheels of different trolleys of a bogie for goods should be within 25 mm. For broad gauge or main gauge sharp lane should be rejected if tip radius is less than 5 mm. For broad gauge or main gauge flange should be rejected if by wear and tear of the tire its thickness becomes less than 16 mm. यदि आप लोग को मेरा यह वीडियो अच्छा लगा हो तो लाइक करें, शेयर करें और सब्सक्राइब करना ना भूलें। धन्यवाद।